From the silent swirling dust of a nascent cosmos, a single solitary world bloomed. A sphere of impossible blue and white adrift in the infinite dark. This is our planet, Earth. For billions of years it has spun on its axis, a cradle for life in its most dazzling and diverse forms. From the deepest trenches of the ocean to the highest mountain peaks, life has flourished, weaving an intricate tapestry of existence. A symphony of creatures, great and small, each playing its part in the grand planetary drama. In this breathtaking menagerie, one species embarked on a journey unlike any other. A journey not just of instinct and survival, but of consciousness, curiosity, and creation. That species is us, Homo sapiens, humans. Our story is not written in the stars, but in the very dust of this world. In the fossilized bones of our ancestors, in the tools they chipped from stone, and in the genetic code that connects every single one of us. It is a story that begins millions of years ago on the sun-drenched savannas of Africa, the cradle of humanity. Here, a profound change occurred. Our distant ancestors rose from 4 limbs to 2. This simple act of standing tall was a revolution. It freed our hands that could now carry, gesture, and most importantly, create. They began to see the world not just as a place to live in, but as a source of raw materials. With a sharp eye and a clever strike, they fractured flint, creating the first tools, the Oldowan choppers. These weren't just stones, they were ideas given form, the first tangible expressions of human ingenuity. Then came another leap, the mastery of fire. It was a terrifying force of nature, now tamed. Fire provided warmth against the chilling night, protection from predators, and a way to cook food, unlocking vital nutrients that would fuel the growth of our most precious asset, our brain. Around the flickering glow of the first campfires, something new was forged: community. Here, stories were shared, bonds were strengthened, and the seeds of culture were sown. Fueled by this growing intelligence and social cohesion, we began to move. Driven by curiosity, climate change, and the simple need for new resources, small bands of Homo sapiens ventured out of Africa. This was the Great Migration, the most audacious journey in the history of life on Earth. They were not conquerors with maps and armies, but families walking into the unknown. They faced unimaginable challenges. They crossed scorching deserts, navigated dense jungles, traversed frozen ice sheets during the last ice age, and even built rafts to cross vast stretches of open water. With each new environment, they adapted. They learned to hunt mammoths on the frozen tundra, to fish in coastal waters, and to identify edible plants in new continents. Their resilience was extraordinary. They were the ultimate pioneers, populating every corner of the globe. But the most significant journey was not across land or sea, but within the human mind itself. This was the cognitive revolution. Our brains evolved to support a new kind of thinking: abstract, symbolic, and imaginative. We developed complex language, allowing us to communicate intricate ideas about the past, the future, and things that don't even exist. We could now cooperate with strangers in vast numbers, bound together by shared myths, beliefs, and stories. This inner world exploded into vibrant expression. In the deep, silent darkness of caves, we painted. The majestic bulls of Lascaux, the graceful lions of Chauvet, these were not just pictures of animals. They were windows into the human soul, expressions of awe, spirituality, and our place in the natural world. We carved delicate figurines from ivory and bone, and crafted flutes that filled the air with the first music. We began to ask the big questions: who are we? Where do we come from? What is our purpose? Art, religion, and philosophy were born. For tens of thousands of years we lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers, in harmony with the rhythms of nature. But around 12,000 years ago, in different parts of the world, another revolution began, one that would fundamentally reshape our relationship with the planet. We learned to cultivate the land. This was the agricultural revolution. Instead of following the herds, we brought them to us, domesticating animals like goats, sheep, and cattle. Instead of gathering wild grains, we planted and harvested our own, like wheat, rice, and corn. For the first time, we could produce a surplus of food. This allowed us to stop wandering and build permanent homes, villages, and eventually, the world's first cities. Life became more secure, but also more complex. The ideas of property, hierarchy, and specialized labor emerged. Our world would never be the same. From these settled communities, civilizations arose. Along the fertile banks of the Tigris and Euphrates, the Nile, the Indus, and the Yellow River, cities like Uruk, Memphis, and Mohenjo-Daro became bustling centers of innovation. To manage these complex societies, We invented writing, first as simple pictographs for accounting, but soon evolving to record laws, histories, and epic poems. We developed mathematics to build monumental structures like the pyramids of Giza and the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, testaments to our ambition and our ability to organize on a massive scale. As civilizations grew, so did our ideas. A period historians call the Axial Age saw a flourishing of philosophical and religious thought that continues to shape us. In the marketplaces of Athens, Socrates challenged citizens to know thyself. In India, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, taught a path to end suffering. In China, Confucius outlined a moral framework for society, and the Hebrew prophets spoke of a covenant with a single, universal God. These thinkers turned our focus inward, towards ethics, morality, and the nature of existence. These ideas, along with goods and technologies, began to travel. Great empires, the Roman, the Persian, the Han Chinese, built roads and secured sea lanes, creating vast networks of connection. The legendary Silk Road was more than a trade route for silk and spices. It was a conduit for culture. Buddhism traveled from India to East Asia. Roman glass found its way to China. Papermaking technology spread from China to the Islamic world and eventually to Europe, fueling scholarship and literacy. For the first time, humanity was becoming a global network. History is not a straight line of progress. Empires fall, knowledge can be lost. Following the collapse of Rome in the West, Europe entered a period of fragmentation. Yet in other parts of the world, the flame of knowledge burned brighter than ever. The Islamic Golden Age saw incredible advances in mathematics, medicine, and astronomy. In China, the Tang and Song dynasties were eras of immense invention. This knowledge was preserved and expanded upon, waiting to be rediscovered. And in Europe, it was. The Renaissance was a spectacular rebirth of art, science, and a belief in human potential, epitomized by geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci, who was at once an artist, scientist, and inventor. This renewed confidence, combined with new maritime technologies, propelled Europeans across the oceans in an age of discovery. They connected the hemispheres, initiating the Columbian Exchange, a vast transfer of plants, animals, cultures, and ideas. But this encounter also had a devastatingly dark side. It brought disease, conquest, and the brutalities of colonialism, creating legacies of suffering and inequality that persist to this day. It was a moment that irrevocably intertwined the fates of all people on Earth, for better and for worse. The quest for knowledge continued to accelerate. The scientific revolution taught us to observe, experiment, and question everything. Galileo pointed his telescope to the heavens and changed our place in the universe. Isaac Newton uncovered the fundamental laws of motion and gravity. This reliance on reason and evidence sparked the Enlightenment, a movement that championed liberty, human rights, and new forms of self-government, ideas that would inspire revolutions around the world. Then, we unlocked a new source of power, not from muscle or water, but from steam. The Industrial Revolution changed the human experience more profoundly than anything since the invention of agriculture. Factories reshaped landscapes and cities swelled with people seeking work. Our ability to produce and travel grew exponentially. This was followed by the harnessing of electricity, the invention of the telephone, the automobile, and the airplane. In the span of a few generations, the world shrank. The 20th century was the best and worst of times. Our technological prowess gave us the power of gods, and we often used it with the wisdom of children. We waged 2 world wars of unprecedented destruction and witnessed the horror of genocide. We lived under the shadow of nuclear annihilation during the Cold War. Yet in that same century, we defeated diseases, split the atom, and walked on the moon. We fought for civil rights, challenged empires, and began to see ourselves as a single, global community. And that brings us to now, to the digital age. We are more connected than ever before, living in a global village woven from ones and zeros. Information that once took a lifetime to find now rests in the palm of our hand. We can collaborate across continents in an instant. But our story is far from over. We face monumental challenges, a changing climate that threatens the very systems that sustain us, deep-seated inequalities, and the responsibility of wielding technologies we are only beginning to understand. The story of humanity is a story of paradox. We are capable of breathtaking creativity and senseless destruction, of profound empathy and shocking indifference. We have explored the outer reaches of space and the inner workings of the atom. But perhaps our greatest discovery is yet to be made, the discovery of how to live wisely and sustainably on this fragile, beautiful planet that is our only home. Our past is written, our future is not. The next chapter is ours to write, together.